Good morning, RuneScape. We got some more news on Bounty Hunter. Thank you very much, Jagex, for keeping us so up to date and in the loop with what's going on. We got ourselves a recent tweet from Oldschool Runescape saying last week's live stream was all about Bounty Hunter. So many of you had questions about the bloody return of Bounty Hunter, and the JMods answered them one by one. And for those who didn't watch the Q&A, like myself, because they're usually shot in the morning, I mean, it's morning now, but I always miss them. It's like early morning. We're going to go over them. So here's a handy transcript for you to hunt down the answers. Sorry, I'm just still waking up. Got to stretch the lips, dude. Iris to wristwatch. It's a tongue twister. It's so hard. Red leather, yellow leather. All right, whatever. All right, let's go into it real quickly here. So we got unskulled targets being a free skip, adding Purdue to the lobby, thoughts on adding separate no honor crater with overhead prayers and freezes enabled. A lot of people, a lot of NHers been wanting something to do that has something in resemblance with Bounty Hunter. The reason for not making Stati's Warhammers usable everywhere, including outside of Bounty Hunter and the Wilderness. Also, I was asking my viewers if you can use the imbued dark bow outside of the Bounty Crater and any imbuements. And they said no, and I was so surprised, but the dark bow is really strong, so I'm not sure what they really plan to do. Remember, boys, it's the first step. Let them cook, all right? So disclaimer, live streams are a glimpse into the ongoing creative process at Jagex. JMods are speaking off the cuff, and their comments are not intended to be read in the same way as prepared updates from the company. Be knowledgeable about that. All right. Is there a plan to release tradable GP rewards for Bounty Hunter? Everyone wants to make some money. What do they got to say? So we got from Mod Daizong. And sorry if I don't know all the mods and all their names. I'm trying to learn. We got Aiza, Goblin, Aiza again, and back to Goblin. So let's see what Daizong has to say. Sorry, Daizong, if I'm saying that wrong. We know that PvP is a high-risk activity that can be harsh on new players, so the design for an earning potential system... Oh, God. Not an earning potential system during the development of Bounty Hunter. The goal of this system is to give some extra money bonuses to encourage new players and provide some reward potential so players won't be punished so much when they are killed. Unfortunately, we did not have enough time to implement this system before the release date. I got nothing against you, brother, but you had nothing but time. It has been years, all right? But, you know, fair enough. Unfortunately, we did not have enough time, but the EP system is currently under development. We're hoping to have the release soon once the development has been done. So we're getting an EP system. That's huge, bro. I was not expecting to wake up and be told we're getting an EP system. That's one thing I was not... I didn't think that was coming to the game. If you don't know what the EP system was, so back in the day, I don't believe it was Bounty Hunter. Might have just been PvP Worlds. But you would sit out somewhere. Maybe it was Bounty Hunter. I'm trying to think. It was Bounty Hunter or PvP Worlds. It was so long ago. But you would sit somewhere and you would earn some sort of... like if you were in a risky spot or out in the wild, the chance that you got a drop from killing someone went up very, very high. And the reason why they were doing that is to fight off RWT back in the day, because when you killed someone in Bounty, or I can't remember, I don't want to say it's Bounty Hunter. I cannot remember what it was, PvP World. Anywhere you kill someone with, and there was no free trade, you would get a couple of their items, the rest would get like burned, and then you get some random stuff. So I saw clips of people PKing like claws, no claws, AGS, no AGS. But if you wait for that EP to get all the way up, you might get a Dragon Full Helm. It looks like they're going to be bringing back the EP system on top of normal loots. You love to see it. I'm a little scared. Oh, God. There's going to be so many people just farming EP. Okay, what does Mod Aiza have to say? So, amazing. There you have it. Confirmation that in addition to the GP that you will get from the loot of your opponents in the very near future, perhaps even a matter of weeks, there will be earning potential added to Bounty Hunter. So you get a bit of extra loot on top of a nice little reward. Hopefully, emphasis on little. I don't want a big reward here. Just to keep you fueled through those times that maybe you've died 15 times in a row and are really feeling the struggle of a rebuild, and it will hopefully help. And for those of you who are on killing streaks, you'll be even richer. It's a win-win. Big news, though. I think that's one of the things that's been most asked about in terms of Bounty Hunter. Now, I remember people telling me Bounty Hunter's dead on release because there's no tradable drops. There's nothing to make money off. I feel like people have not been paying attention to Jagex and the work they've been putting into the Winter Summit and the effort on their part. I am not really super surprised that they're building on top of Bounty Hunter. I am very surprised, though, it's going to be an EP system. That did catch me off guard. Mod Goblin quickly retorts, I'll say this quickly to jump ahead. With that we're currently working with is not too dissimilar from what we wrote about in the first Bounty Hunter blog, which was mid-February and was inspired heavily by community design made by a bunch of people. So if you want to look at what it might look like and how it's meant to help new players without being a big target for 76k tricking, hence a throwback to when people would just stand in the wild. And I forgot how much they'd risk, but 76k was the minimum to get your EP up, and then you just go farm someone and get a cool drop. So, Madaiza says, you have a handy TLDR for that blog. Goblin says, have a risk above a certain amount. Build up EP for every minute that you're eligible to receive a target in the crater, and you'll receive some EP if you die to the target. Huh? You'll receive some EP if you die to the target? You get rewarded for dying? Okay. I guess they did mention that. Just reading it out loud was kind of weird. And then when you eventually cash in your EP you've earned by killing your target, you'll get rewards with some blighted supplies or GP in it. And it mostly serves as a way to help you recoup costs from death as a new player, obviously, then also increasing the consistency you get if you're an absolute blast or you're beast blasting through people left and right like Mod Mank did yesterday with his 83 points an hour in Bounty Hunter. My God, that is kind of crazy. That is insane. Sorry, I just muted my mic. I just woke up. Like usual. It's not as bad as the first Bounty Hunter blog. That was rough, dude. That was like 4 a.m., bro. All right, next question. Why is there no F2P Bounty Hunter worlds? I guess that people care about that. I think it'd be cool to have. I didn't even realize that it was a thing. And in the spirit of unifying the PvP visions, I think it makes sense to include this group of players. So then we got Kirby, Daizong, Goblin, Aiza replying to this. So because we didn't have any plans for that at the start, we don't normally include F2P when we make new content aimed for higher levels. For F2P content, we usually have a design of we want to make F2P content. Bounty Hunter was not that, so we could default to assume it was for members. When this came up originally, or initially, I was like, could we do that? Could we do that? It'd be interesting to do that. Solid. But given the fact that F2P is not necessarily the priority at all times, it would be lower on the priority list, but I think it'd be cool. Exactly what I think. Daizong says, apparently not everything will work in F2P. For example, a lot of reward items are member items. Also, the risk volume when we need to do matchmaking might not be working. Wait, would they get emblems too and unlock stuff? See, that's the thing. They couldn't use any of those unlocks. And if they could, you would just, I mean, through Rune versus like a Stadius Warhammer or something, it wouldn't even be a fight. So they would have to make their own like Rune Ornament Kits. I don't know. Goblin says, just to sum it up, watch this space. It's not a hard no, but there's a lot we need to do to Bounty Hunter first before we consider looking at that. So it could be coming, not on the top of their list. I think that's a great answer. We don't really need it just yet. Madaiza says, I think it makes complete sense. We would obviously want to focus on Bounty Hunter coming back in the first place, making sure it's in a healthy spot for members, that it's functional and everyone's happy with that before we consider F2P. If we were to add it to F2P, it would have greatly expanded the scope, and we wouldn't be having Bounty Hunter right now. But it's not a no, just not right now. I think the decision will come down to the value that it would provide over enhancing Bounty Hunter for members and maybe even working on other content within the wilderness and beyond. I like the whole within the wilderness and beyond. I enjoy that. That is very nice. So I guess they probably need to add that later on because they did add PvP worlds and then F2P PvP worlds, right? Am I wrong? I think so. Never been to them. I think they exist. So that could be something in the future. I don't know. It's going to be weird seeing people full rune, just like half food and then running out. You'd really have to deathmatch, right? No one's really getting KO'd in mage bows or maple bows and rune 2Hs. So we got a third question here. The minimum deposit fees are really low. New players don't tend to PK unskulled. What are your thoughts about increasing these fees? Let's see. Man, dude, just waking up, trying to read, just too much for me, bro, apparently. So Daizong says, first, the minimum deposit fees in this is the same for both unskulled and skulled players. The difference between them is if a player dies in the crater. The skull player loses 10k, the unskulled player will lose, I think it's 150 if they're max combat. Other thing is, if we increase the minimum deposit, we might stop players from joining. I don't think so. I don't really think that 150 or 10k is going to stop someone from fighting when a gear set already costs more. But yeah, I don't know. Unskulled players, it does seem that only 150k for mains and then even lower on pures. I mean, I saw a picture of a dude posting on Twitter that of his target, and it was like a level 67, and he said, "Fighting, I am unskulled," and he was in like hides, like we're talking leather top, D-hides, glory, risking maybe 70k. So it's pretty bad. It is pretty bad. Maybe they could boost that up a little bit. Question 4, would you consider letting unskulled targets be a free skip? I thought they already covered that. One point of feedback that's come through was players would like to be able to skip unskulled players, so that might almost fix the minimum deposit fees being low. I think our first call to action will be to allow you to skip unskulled players. I think they already added this, so Ayuza reiterates after Mank saying, just to reiterate, we're open to looking at changes of the deposit fees and how much you lose when you're skull versus unskulled, but the biggest change that is going to be coming the next week is unskulled targets will be a free skip, and it won't count towards your penalty. Yeah, I read that in the, I think the last blog. So question 5, Bounty Hunter seems a bit expensive for only being able to have one emblem at a time. True, the rewards are crazy expensive. Is there a plan to reduce these prices? And I think they already said yes. So short answer from Goblin, yes. We'll be reducing the prices a little bit next week. We mentioned the news post that we just went out, but we haven't shared specifics. We might not go as far as some people would like in week 1. We'll just see how people feel about it. It's a tricky line to walk because we feel like an impactful goal for you to grind out. For an example, the Vesta chain body, you don't ever lose it. It's a permanent unlock. It also gives you 15% special accuracy with the full armor, which is crazy, dude. And somehow Reese was able to unlock in the first week and became a bill and getting full Vesta. That video is insane. So you definitely want them to grind that out. You don't want everyone having that armor set. That would be... I wouldn't go if everyone had that armor set. So they already answered that. Very good. As well as the Ancient Warrior stuff, we'll look to rejig. Nice. The process for some of the Blighted stuff and Combat XP lamps as well. Fair enough. Fair enough. Question 6, would you be able to add an armor stand to Bounty Hunter Hub? It's inconvenient to have to leave BH to have Purdue repair your stuff. Hear me out. What if Purdue was also at the Bounty Hunter lobby? Boom. Already is happening. I usually said, yeah, this is one of the biggest pieces of feedback for a nice quality of life change. You don't have to do the walk of shame through the Ferox Enclave back to the crater. I love how people use the walk of shame. I always say that. Purdue will be added to the Bounty Hunter lobby, and it is going to be next week. Kirby says, probably watch this space. I don't want to guarantee anything, but probably. I either says, hopefully for next week. Very good. All right, quick question. Can we get an Australian BH World? I either said, yes, we already added one yesterday. Question 8, could you consider a US East World for us players who can't play on ping? With next week's updates, I believe we're going to be changing the second US West World that we already added yesterday into the US East World. All right. Question 9, there needs to be more of a penalty for rogues that double Voidwaker off spawn. Modmank says, although if you're paying attention, it is relatively hard to die. I love Mank because he's a god tier PKer. Obviously, if he's caught off guard, he's going to live anyways. Always be on guard. Bunch of noobs don't even know what guard is. They don't even know what eating up the 126 is, so they're getting slayed. But however, we hear the outcry. That outcry. Just a bunch of people that died. And you're having to waste a lot of food, then go bank. The plan is to introduce a brief period where you can't be attacked when you first enter the crater, just a few seconds, so you can't be rushed instantly. What do you guys feel about that? I think we covered that a little bit last time, and people said it was kind of a douchey move to rush people on spawn. I think it's a move that I'd probably do. It sounds really fun. But what do you guys think about that? I think it should be dangerous, but it is for noobs. We got this is a noob update for noobs. So I think the plan is set that to 6 seconds when a rogue can't attack you, but you can be attacked by your target. If you attack someone else, though, the immunity is lost. Question 10. Why did you make the decision to allow no teleporting whatsoever? This changes the nature of the fight, making it more longevity rather than KOing your opponent. Who asked this question? I feel like Telebots did. I don't know, it just annoys me. It doesn't show it. I'm not gonna roast a person who's just wondering, but what do you want to just teleport from every fight? What kind of fight is that? So Daizong says, during the design of Bounty Hunter, we considered several options for the creator rules. We had community consultation to understand what they prefer. So what about prayer protection, all this stuff? And so that's how we implemented it in the Bounty Hunter. Great. They got feedback. They worked with it perfect. However, we also had other options at the time, such as the no-rule creator, which would have allowed players to teleport or use protection prayers. Would have died. I don't know. People would have used it, but noobs would have not. They would have been extinct. Let's be real. Noobs would have not been able to survive with prayers and freezes. To reiterate, we were originally looking at 2 creators, one with the rule set that we have now, and one without a rule set at all. And if we scroll up, which I won't because it's super far up, a lot of questions, that's when they were saying, should we add a NH, no honor, BH creator? So, and they said, yeah, we'll probably start working on that. It could be happening. Question 11, are there any plans to separate no honor creator with overhead and freezes enabled? Didn't we just cover that? There are no plans right now, but we are open to it at large if enough demand warrants us. Yeah, so they're thinking about it. Goblin says, I have some concerns about the NH creator in terms of, are people asking for it? Not concerned that you'll take more birds out of the wild if you do so. That is a concern for sure. There's already an activity issue. Yeah, and it's funny because Goblin and Mankt are working on a rejuvenation of the wilderness of sorts to make areas of the wild more adventurous, more fun, more insane. Like they're reworking the resource area. So they are thinking about how can we bring more activity to the deep wild. And they're also thinking of how do they keep the activity in that wild. And if they were to add a BH creator that had no honor, would that take the activity away? So there's already an activity issue, which is one of the worries with an NH creator, because NH style is where all the bets are off, and you're just trying to survive because you're in the wild. To me, Bounty Hunter is more for people getting into PvP, and there are even more people for us to target when we make wilderness updates in deep wild. Pretty much saying that this is to grow the wilderness, bring them into the wilderness when they're having enough fun, and then we grow the wilderness after we do Bounty Hunter to give them something to do. Perfect game plan, step by step, beautiful. Aiza says, I fully agree with you that Bounty Hunter is specifically there for people who want to try out the style of PvP and isn't necessarily as accessible when you're in the wilderness, whereas the whole no honor is really within the wilderness itself. Seems like they're thinking about it, but they might not be leaning towards it as much as I thought. Now that I say that, and I'm okay with that. I don't know. Do you guys think we need an NH no honor creator? You could just go deep wild and PA revs. I don't know. For me, I'm always deep wild. I live out there. It's fun. People don't think the same. They have a weird mindset. They get all fearful and scared. Just go on out, have a good time, attack some people. Thoughts on allowing the people to use the D-Long, Debo, and etc. in PvP outside the bounty creator? This is what I want to know. Kirby says, not explicitly against it, probably want polling, but I can't imagine it being too popular because these things can hit quite hard. And players are like living usually, but if you don't mess around, you don't find out. Aiza says, we're open to it similarly as there is suddenly a huge demand that these rewards should be usable outside the wild and the main game. Oh, in the main game. So they want them in the wild. So just throughout. Could be like a PVM update if we're not careful here. I've seen a lot of comments, especially on the good old subreddit, where players have been saying that these weapons could do with a buff. Generally speaking, why is it exclusive to just Bounty Hunter? The only thing stopping us from doing so is you, the players. So if you want it, let us know. Should they be outside the crater? I feel like the Dark Bow will be really fun to use outside of the crater, but at the same time, it is insane. If you don't know what the imbued Dark Bow is, it's increased accuracy, it's lower spec, and it's instant hit. So there's no gap. It's boom, 48-48, instant. So if you pair that with a group of people, maybe waiting outside the cave of a multi-entrance, Even if you have just 4 or 5 people, insta-hit with accuracy and more damage, you're probably going to kill people every time. That's what I'll be doing. So beware. Dangerous things could happen if you let that outside the wild. Question 13. Why is there hesitance in bringing BH certain buffs like ones to the Abyssal Dagger outside of Bounty Hunter? Because it's insane. That's why. Goblin, I completely get why people are asking about it, but then I worry we go through this pipeline that seems to happen like a fair bit where things are Bounty Hunter rewards. People want Abyssal Dagger imbue outside of Bounty Hunter. People say they're forced to do PvP to get the Abyssal Dagger imbue. They put loads of pressure on us. Yo, that's so real, though. They'll want one thing, and they'll just keep drawing the line to where, like, if we can use it outside the wild, why do we got to do PvP for it? It's yeah, that's got to be such a struggle. The cool thing about the crater is it is a playground. That's where they cook, and you get a chance to be able to see how they feel and how other players feel about this without being in a beta. People are using them quite often. You get a sense of them, and then you can better understand their place in the game. We could be open to pulling this down the line, but I don't want to be in the position because that is one of the things that serves for the divisiveness between PvP and the wider game community. Pretty much saying, yeah, we could go down this line, but I already know where it's headed, and I don't like it. So let's see what they think. He just said, I think it's a fair point and definitely a consideration for us to keep in mind. For the rest of the player base, too, it's not just as simple as adding it in, because it can look at then it can look at people being much more incentivized to boost or sell kills, so on and so forth. And I really like the fact that right now Bounty Hunter is, as Goblin mentioned, a fair bit of testing grounds for us of sorts, so we can add in so many different effects that won't just impact the rest of the game and test them out. And I think it's important for them to have a little testing ground, as I do think that's important for pretty much every video game, to have a nice little testing area to see how it affects things. So, question 14, what's the reason for making the Statius Warhammer usable everywhere, including outside of Bounty Hunter and the Wilderness? So they're just asking the same questions. These poor mods. We're just going to skip some of these. Jesus. Who's letting these people ask questions, bro? Slap them with a stick. What's wrong with these people? Why do I get a 30-minute timer after skipping a looter and having 5 fights with someone and running out of time? Wait. Why do I get a 30-minute timer after skipping a looter and having 5 fights with someone and then running out of time in the safe area? That does seem annoying. So Mank said, we discussed this earlier, and we think about adding more time for you when you bank. So if you have a target, I think it's currently 5 seconds. Maybe we make that 15 seconds. And it's like you can't just add a bunch of time because then people will stall targets. But there needs to be enough time where someone could bank and then head back out. And not everyone's super good at banking. So maybe like 30 seconds, honestly. A lot of people are super slow. I'm fast, and I'd probably need 20 seconds to reset my MV. So hopefully you'll get a chance on them now and then go bank and have more time to fight. Good stuff. It might be worth adding here. We also know that at the moment players are hitting the skip limit without realizing it. You get a warning to say that you'll be quite close, but it's the same warning regardless of whether it's like you are quite close or it's your last skip. So one of the changes that we'll be making is if you are getting to your last skip, it will now tell you that you were going to skip the target. You will encounter a 30-minute penalty. It's weird because the first Bounty Hunter had that, and then this one didn't. So I guess they just kind of forgot to add that in, but quickly updating it, very nice to see. Question 16, in traditional pking, XP has always been gained. Why does this act like LMS to where you can't level up during combat? Kirby says, this is not pking, it's Bounty Hunter. Exactly. That's all I'm going to read. That's all. XP gain you get from PvP is decent, but not the primary reason for you wanting to do PvP in the first place. And I think more people actually like that you don't get XP in Bounty Hunter. I mean, you can get XP in Bounty Hunter. You turn your points into XP lamps in the reward shop. Daizong said, also, we use players' combat levels to determine the minimum deposit. If players are actually getting XP, if they level up, their combat will increase in the crater. Well, I mean, I get it, but there's no way that's going to be like that big of a difference. You're not going up 20 combat levels in Bounty Hunter. Like, how insane would that be? And if so, and they lose out on a couple GP, not a big deal. But I get it. Goblin says, really early in the design, we floated the idea of doing the same as the OG creators where we had 3 level brackets I'm glad they didn't do it. It would have separated the community way too much. And obviously, you'd be 1 to 55 combat. It's such a big gap. And that might not be, it might be 1 to 50, I can't remember, but such a big gap of levels there. So fake XP drops, you still know when to combo eat, etc., which is cool and stops people from leveling outside their bracket, which they particularly enjoy. And then I'm just, like I said, it's all the same info. It says, I've seen so many positive comments from players, just not having to worry about risky accidental bricking their builds by choosing a different attack style. Like I said, most people like this update, or just a little mistake here and there. So a lot of cool benefits come from it, and I don't see many downsides apart from you not getting training experience. However, if you're doing PvP primarily for getting experience, well, guess what? You can buy experience from the reward shop. Exactly. Question 17, what happened to being able to watch other players PvP from the lobby? I see a ladder that goes to the second floor, but it doesn't work. I was wondering if they'd add like a little orb like in the fight cave so you could watch people. Maybe like a big old screen. I don't know if RuneScape has TVs. Daizong says, we're actually locked all the second floor areas inside the crater intentionally because we don't want to have some hidden space where players can hide to avoid fighting their target. Why is that a thing in the first place then? Just like an Easter egg so people can wonder? Goblin says, on being able to watch players from the lobby, it was something that I wrote about in the blog as like flavor because the lobby was in the middle. So if you're at the bank, you can see some players. However, the distance from your character at which the game actually wants to render entities like players isn't that high. Hence, you don't get to see very many. You get a couple people jumping in and out of the edge of your vision. Maybe we could do some sort of scrying pool, similar to fight pits. I said fight caves, meant fight pits, sorry. Fight pits had the scrying pool. Maybe they could add that. I think it'd be solid. Aiza adds on, if you were really keen to watch a lot of fights, you could just go tune into a Twitch streamer. A little shout out, brother. There's quite a few of them, but I know it's not the same. You don't need to be in the game. You can still do your AFK things. Give them some views at the same time and get that ad revenue. God, what a homie. What a homie. But yeah, add a scrying pool. That'd be cool. Question 18. Can you please make it possible for irons to get emblem drops from targets? Okay. Modmake says, realistically, I think as an Iron Man, you know what you're in for, and I think that's fine. I think that's it. As an Iron Man, you know what you're in for. You signed up for it, but you can boost very easily on Iron Man. You could also get your friends to get a higher tier emblem and then get your Iron Man, and that feels wrong. So I think the system is the way the system is right now, although it is more difficult, you did opt in for that. Thank you. Thank you, bro. I feel like when I was an Iron Man, I still agreed with this. So I don't know where these Iron Men are coming from that don't agree that when they signed up for an Iron Man that they should be treated differently. You signed up for a hard game mode that's competitive, bro. Why? I don't know. It's not the time for a rant. Good answer, mate. Question 19. With no protection prayers, the introduction of ancient warrior weapons, and the convenient spec restoring pool, do you think that BH has become a rusher's dream? It's definitely fun for rushers. Aiza said we spoke on that earlier. I know that there was a 6-second immunity when you spawn in the crater. They can attack you during that immunity period unless it's your target. You can also attack other players during your immunity period. Rogues won't be able to attack you for the first 6 seconds, so that should help some forms of rushing. Kirby says, I will amend this slightly and say one of the points we wanted to add to Bounty Hunters is that we wanted to keep this to be fast, where we're not forcing you to play these long, drawn-out tribird fights. Why do you hate tribird fights, bro? Where everybody's stacked up on Cerebrus. This man had a rough experience in LMS, dude. I could just read it. I'm sorry, Kirby. I love you, brother, but if you get tossed in LMS or something, you just constantly top each other up. We want you to go out there and go kill people, and we're giving you the tools to do that, so please go out there and do it. Goblin says, I'll just say, you'll see in the blog, we want to add a spec delay as well, so you can't just spec and insta-leave. I agree. I think there should be if you're rushing someone that's not your target and then you try to leave, there should be a decent amount of time before you can leave. I feel like right now, by the time you attack someone, rush them, you only got to wait like 5 to 10 seconds and you're already out. That's actually a good point because we haven't mentioned that one yet. I've just brought this up on the blog, and word for word, this is what it says within the blog that you put out. Players won't be able to leave the crater immediately after using a special attack and will be blocked from exiting for 6 seconds. So yeah, I think that needs to be a little longer, but Only if you're rushing someone, not if you're just an actual fight and specking. Question 20, can we have ornament kits for the Infernal and Fire capes that evolve based on the kill count? Similar to the BH hat. If we do a cosmetic for the Infernal cape, everyone and their mother is going to need to play Bounty Hunter. I mean, so? That sounds awesome, dude. Daizong says, we don't have any plans for an ornament kit for the short term. Goblin, I don't think so right now. Stuff like that is super time consuming, but I don't think with everything art in particular doing that right now, especially with DT2, Forestry, and Looming. You gotta be aware there's a lot of stuff on the timeline, and it's huge. I usually said in the future, though, it would be nice to see some sort of progression-based cosmetic that upgrades the more kills you have, like how the hats used to function in the past. I did like those. And I know other players did, but right now the focus is entirely on what we have now and what's already passing the polls. All right, so they're noting it as a maybe, but probably not Inferno cape or a Fire cape. I don't know. I guess everyone's gonna want one, but isn't that the point? Making people want something really cool from unlocking it. Since there's a BH ornament kit for the Nez helm, could we possibly see one for the face guard? It's weird it wouldn't work for both. Also, would the team be open to adding more ornament kits? Man, a lot of people like their cosmetics here. We've covered the ornament kits in the previous question, so instead we could spin around to why did we choose the Nezi helm and not the face guard? I don't think the face guard gets all that much use in PvP. The question is, why not both? They're the same thing with an upgrade. Maybe I'm thinking too much. Should cover both. Daizong said, I think we got in a survey right last time. That's why we got it in the ornament kit. Yes, it was very highly ranked. Okay. So maybe they will in the future. We're just not for both, but that's just my opinion. Question 22, is there any chance we will see corrupted versions of weapons in the future with or without special attack? I'd assume this is where the corrupted weapons would be, which is a F2P bounty hunter that could possibly be added in one of the earlier questions. So I'd thought about this when we committed to putting them in. I just thought, what would we even do there? We could drop the requirement, then players would just have to switch to whips, or something else with high attack. That may not be the new weapon, but have the damage output that you actually want. If we drop the tier of the weapon, we need the stats. Drop the stats considerably. I'm sorry. Plus, if it's a weapon, that's probably the most important slot. I just don't see a useful way of making them actually work. ModMake says, I think also with the Dragon Warhammer back in the day, all the weapons required attack typically, whereas these days you have different options. You can have one attack, but you can use a Dragon Warhammer, 60 strength. So that has changed up the meta quite a bit. So like Kirby is saying, it's quite difficult to find use for the new corrupted items. Yeah, it just seems like they would be a F2P thing. They didn't even cover that, by the way. That's just my thought there, that they would go into F2P Bounty Hunter if that comes out. So are there any plans to expand the Bounty Hunter castle to make it more spacious for players? What do you mean you need more space for players? Okay, sure. Not in the shorter term. I could say that. Also, if we were changing size, it'll affect the crater as well. If we make it bigger, the only thing would be a second floor, and I think we discussed that in the previous question. User says, quite a big change. If we were to do that, no plans right now. What are these questions, dude? I don't know, man. Why would you want more? I guess you want more space. What, to run to the exit? I would like more color. And then it looks like we got to the very end of these questions, man. There's a ton of questions here. Player creations of the week. That's pretty cool. Oh, that's nice. I need to make some stuff, man. I'm an artist. No, I'm not. Oh, that's badass. All right, so that was the new Bounty Hunter questions covered in the Q&A that we went over. Thought I'd keep you guys up to date. A lot more questions than I anticipated, but we went over all of them. Pretty much the big things that you, to summarize it, EP is coming to the game. F2P Bounty Hunter might be also coming very shortly, and EP is coming to the game. EP is coming into Bounty Hunter. That's it. Honestly, we could have stopped at question 1. Everything else, didn't really learn much. EP, though, crazy. Either way, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for watching all of this, and peace.